Hello, friend. It's in a quiet town called Mossbridge, where the hills were round like teacups and the skies always smelled like earth and wildflowers. Livey dead, an 8-year-old boy named Theo. Theo was not like the other kids in his class. He was quiet. At recess, while other kids kicked balls and played tag, Theo preferred drawing clouds instead. And during birthday parties, while other kids screamed with glee as they ran around chairs in a game of musical chairs, Theo found more joy in sitting under the old willow tree near his school than in playing any game. His best friends were the stories he wrote in his notebook and the birds who sometimes shared his sandwich. But Theo was also lonely. That changed on a rainy Tuesday. The rain in Mossbridge wasn't loud or stormy. It fell like whispers, soft and steady, wrapping the town in a cool, sleepy hush. Theo had just finished another lonely lunch under the willow tree when he noticed a small, muddy lump waddling across the wet grass. A hedgehog. It was soaked, shivering, and dragging what looked like a scrap of a paper towel on its back, like a blanket. A little beside it. "Hey, little guy. You're not supposed to be out in the rain." The hedgehog looked up and blinked. To Theo's surprise, it didn't curl into a ball or scurry away. Instead, it sneezed Dotch. And then, in a very small, very polite voice, it said, "Well, obviously, but I've got important things to do. No time to wait for sunshine." Theo stared. "You just spoke, yes," said the hedgehog. "You're dripping on my tail." That was the beginning. The hedgehog's name was Prickleton T. Spindle, though he admitted most humans had trouble with the T. "It stands for Theophilus," he said proudly, "after my great-uncle. The second bravest hedgehog in the kingdom of root and bark." Theo didn't know what the kingdom of root and bark was, or how many brave hedgehogs existed in the world. But one thing was certain. Prickleton was not an ordinary animal. He wore a tiny satchel made from a coin purse. Inside were mysterious objects, a spool of thread, a pebble carved like a crown, a wrinkled acorn cap, and a folded map drawn in what looked suspiciously like cranberry juice. "I'm on a mission," Prickleton told Theo. "There's a secret beneath the school, and I need your help."
Oh.
Theo had never heard of a secret beneath Mossbridge Elementary. But when a talking hedgehog in a paper towel cape asks for your help, you say yes. That afternoon, Theo snuck back after school with Prickleton tucked inside his coat. They waited until the janitor left, then crept into the old boiler room where Prickleton declared this is where it begins. Behind an ancient radiator, they discovered a loose floorboard. Underneath it was a tunnel narrow, damp, and winding. "Down we go," said Prickleton, unfazed. Theo gulped, took a deep breath, and followed. The tunnel opened into a hidden underground chamber filled with roots, mushrooms, and tiny lanterns glowing faintly. "This," said Prickleton, "is the Burrowatha, forgotten passage of the woodland kingdom." It turned out the kingdom of root and bark was real, and it wasn't far from Mossbridge at all. Hidden underground, beneath schools and streets and gardens, lived a network of woodland creatures with their own tiny cities, councils, and curious traditions. Hedgehogs were the record keepers, owls the scholars. Rabbits ran the postal service. "And I," said Prickleton, "am a junior quest seeker." Theo couldn't believe it. He was talking with hedgehogs in waistcoats and shaking paws with foxes who wore spectacles. But all was not well. According to Prickleton, the Kingdom-esque Book of Forgotten Names, a magical book that kept track of every animal and human who'd ever believed in woodland magic, was fading. The pages were going blank. "When the names are forgotten," Prickleton said, "so are we." No one knew why it was happening. But the older animals whispered it was because fewer humans believed in woodland magic. Fewer children listened to the wind or followed fox tracks. The bond between the two worlds was breaking. That's where Theo came in. "You still believe?" said Prickleton. "You listen, you see, it's rare." "But I'm just a kid," said Theo. "Perfect," said Prickleton. "All the best heroes start out that way." The plan was simple. They had to rewrite the names. Prickleton believed that if a human wrote down the stories of the magical creatures' real names, real memories, it would help restore the bond. So, every afternoon after school, Theo returned to the Burroway. He listened to tales from talking badgers, dancing mice, and an elderly mole who swore he once tunneled under Buckingham Palace. Theo filled notebooks with their stories. He sketched them in crayon, gave them titles like Sir Thistlewhack, the Brave, and the Knight. The owls flew backwards. With each tale, more pages in the magical book began to glow again. But then the twist. One day, Prickleton didn't show up. Theo waited. Hours passed. He crawled into the tunnel himself, heart pounding.
Ow.
The burrowway was silent. Lanterns were dim. Creatures whispered behind doorways. What happened? Theo asked a tiny chipmunk in a knitted scarf. Prickleton went above ground last night. Said he had one last name to retrieve, but he hasn't come back. Theo ran. He searched every tree, every patch of grass around the school, even his own backyard. No Prickleton. Rain started to fall hard and cold. Then he saw it. A trail of tiny, muddy paw prints, leading toward the road. Theo's stomach dropped. He ran faster than he ever had. Just as he reached the corner, headlights appeared. And there, huddled in the middle of the road, shivering but trying to wave his little coin purse satchel like a flag, was Prickleton. Theo leapt into the street, arms wide, waving and shouting. The car screeched, swerved, and stopped just in time. Theo scooped up Prickleton, drenched and shaking. What were you doing? I needed one last name, Prickleton said weakly. Yours. What? I never wrote it down. I thought you'd always be here. I didn't realize. Humans disappear too. Theo hugged him close. I'm not going anywhere. That night, Theo wrote his own name in the magical book, in the blankest page of all. As he did, the book glowed so bright it lit the entire burrowway. The magic surged, new vines bloomed, laughter echoed, and the bond between human and woodland sparkled like silver thread. The next day, something incredible happened. Theo brought his notebook to school. He showed his drawings. He read the legend of Prickleton Tea Spindle aloud. To his surprise, kids listened. They didn't laugh. One girl asked if she could help write. A boy said he'd seen a squirrel wearing boots once. Soon others joined, drawing, imagining, believing. The magical book, back in the burrowway, filled with names. The bond was healing. Gay and Prickleton. He became a hero among hedgehogs. As for Theo, he was never lonely again. He had friends, stories, and a hedgehog who still snuck into his backpack on rainy days. And whenever someone said magic isn't real, Theo would smile and say, "Want to meet someone who might disagree?" The end.